Third thing, which I'm sure tonight before the president speaks we'll look at, apart from the fact that the average number of cases per day has increased 242 instead of 41, our R effective, I always keep talking about that R, which I am assiduously calculating, and I'm going to explain how I do it. We use the general surveillance is the people who show symptoms before they get COVID-19. The enhanced contact tracing are those people's contacts.
Yeah.
So, simple example, if in your general surveillance you have 2 people and your enhanced contact tracing have 8 people, it means each of the 2 infected 4 people. 2 times 4, 8. So you divide 8 by 4 and get your 2. So your R will be 4. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
If your general surveillance is 2 and your enhanced contact tracing is 6, it means that each of the 2 infected 3 people. So your R is 3. 3. Very good. So just divide your enhanced contact tracing by your general surveillance to get your R, your effective R. Our R, when we started calculating, has moved from 19th of April when we started the calculation. It was 1.42 because at the time our enhanced contact tracing positives were 544. General surveillance was 383. If you divide this, you get 1.42. That means that for each 1 person with COVID-19, they were affecting 1.5 people. That doesn't make sense, but that is a number. It just tells you something. That R has increased to 1.65, 1.79, came down to 1.76. By 1st May, it was 1.79. 4th May, 1.83. 6th May, 2.15. 7th May, 2.18. It's now come down to 2.17. So your average person with COVID-19 is infecting at least 2 people. You want your R to be below 1. If your R is at 1, it means that every 1 person is infecting 1 person. It means the disease line is straight, lateral. If your R is below 1, your disease is coming down. If your R is above 1, it's going up. So I've shown you that our calculation of R, I'm sure the government may have a different one, is going up. I've shown you that in our first 50 days, the average number of cases was 41.
Yeah.
In our last 8 days, average number is 242. Okay. And then Kojo has also shown you that your Greater Accra is like New York in a sense. Greater Accra region, the only country with more positives than Greater Accra region in West Africa is Nigeria. So we know the epicenter, which is why the lockdown was because they knew where the epicenter was. Yeah. So it tells you that we have data about where the disease is going. So then the other last point will be about the regions. So if you look at the way the regions are behaving, initially it was Greater Accra is still the lead region. This new increase, Kumasi had 42 extra cases. Yeah. Okay. One region which has come up strongly has been Western North, but Western North seems to have stabilized. From 30th April, a week ago, Western North had only one case. Then they went to 4 and they jumped to 56, but they remain at 56. Okay. A week ago, the Volta region has 16, they've doubled to 32, but they've remained stable at 32 for a while. A week ago, Greater Accra was 1,795. Now Greater Accra is 3,641. Greater Accra has doubled in 1 week.
1 week.
In 1 week. Okay. Ashanti from 99 to 252. So that's about times 3. Yeah. So Greater Accra is very serious. We have to look at Greater Accra very seriously. Eastern region, a week ago, 70. Now they are on 96. It's not that bad. So the Greater Accra, how we move from 1,795 to 3,751 in 8 or 9 days. So those are the main headlines for me from these numbers. It tells you that things seem to be moving southward, and it's not good.
Not at all.
It's not good.
To talk about all these new cases, the over 500 that was recorded on Friday in the Greater Accra, and using the R0 Bernard calculated, so we are going to give or take about 2 people. So the 500 times 2, then we are looking at 1,000.
So that's,
and their contacts.
That's if. So what happens is that your R is, if you don't do anything, the number of people you will infect. So whatever the president will announce and whatever we will do can slow down this R. So the countries that impose strict lockdowns, once people are not moving and all the people, that's why we said test
isolate,
and then treat. You test to find a positive, isolate so that they don't infect anybody. You treat so that they go home. Or so if you do your lockdown or whatever measure you put in place, the key thing to do after identifying the positive is to make sure that they don't affect anybody. Okay. Now, in the past, because the test results were keeping low, and because we weren't sure that all those who were tested were quarantined, some of the asymptomatics were infecting people. But now our backlog is over. So if they test you, you will know your status by the next day. It's very important. It's almost like a game changer.
Yeah.
If you know your result in 24 hours, it means that once you test the person, even if the person is not in quarantine, he has only 1 day to know whether it's positive or not.
Yeah.
So as soon as you find him positive, you take him out of the picture. So I expect that R to come down with the testing thing. But we still need, from what is happening in Accra, and if you look at the way our markets are and the way we are moving up and down, it's very clear that after they lifted the lockdown, everybody let down their guard. Okay, this is what we are seeing from 1,795 30th April to 3,641 8th May. A doubling in a week for Greater Accra. Very concerning. Okay. The other point is we don't know, of course, what the president will do, and I'm sure we'll discuss this.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But one thing that also keep coming up is the recovery rate. Right now, we are in our thousands, over 4,000, and the number of recoveries as we have is
300
less than,
and I'll give you that figure.
400.
So we have 378.
378.
Yeah. Maybe because you can comment on that.
So it's interesting. I was going to come to that, and you've brought it. So we've seen the recoveries very low. At a point, I expected the recoveries to be a bit high because of the period that we quarantined people, started treating people, started managing cases. But we've seen the recoveries at this particular rate. But my other worry is where the recoveries are coming from, and that we are not seeing recoveries in any other category. The 378 recoveries are all from general surveillance. And all our recoveries have come from general surveillance. We are not seeing any recoveries in travelers undergoing the mandatory quarantine, who were quarantined sometime in March, late March. We've gone March, April, May. At least after 6 weeks, I have a feeling, or I expected to see some recoveries in that particular category. So the Ghana Health Service, the team should tell us what is happening in that particular category, why we are not seeing any recoveries from there. So 378 recoveries, all from general surveillance. 115 people have been undergoing treatment, and we've been told that they've been responding well to treatment since we started this data collection. In their homes. And they've been responding well to treatment since. Is it that we've not tested them again, and we test them and they are still positive? And what is really happening to that particular number? I think it's a question that the Ghana Health Service must give us more details on. And enhanced contact tracing, we started that also about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And they've all also been responding to treatment. 2,842 people. We've not seen any recovery from that place. We've not seen any death from that place, which is good news. We've not seen any people dying from the mandatory quarantine. But my only challenge is the fact that looking at the time frame and the fact that we know that over a certain period people should start recovery if your treatment protocol is great, and we are seeing recoveries in other categories. I am a bit not sure. I don't really understand what is happening in this particular category, so they should tell us. Man, should we be worried about? Okay. The other key thing about our data now, as Bernard alluded to, is now we are getting our data in 24 hours. So if you check the update from the Ghana Health Service, this new update they gave us says that between the 7th and 8th of May, a total of 251 new cases have been reported. And the assumption is that they were all tested within that particular period because we don't have backlogs. So if we don't have backlogs, I think it would be great to be testing those who have positives on a regular to also give us an indication of where we are going. Maybe that could help us to understand the recovery rates and everything, because previously we had a backlog of tests. So maybe we didn't have enough space to test those who have tested positive and the cases we are managing. So maybe more tests should be giving us some results from that particular area.
When you look at the WHO, there are 2 recovery prerequisites or 2 approaches. If you test somebody and they get 2 negatives within 24 hours apart, they are both negative, they are free of the disease, so they've recovered. That's the approach we've chosen. That approach, in my view, is more rigorous than the approach where you say if the person has 14 days of no symptoms, the person has recovered. Particularly because a lot of our people are asymptomatics. So I think it's a more rigorous recovery approach, which is good. I don't think we should change it.
Okay.
Just because we want our recovery numbers to go up. Because you need to study why only the general surveillance people are dying, and not that we want any other person to die, and why only they are recovering. These are very important things that I'm sure is teaching us some things. Okay? Because don't forget, general surveillance people are people who already present with a symptom. He's feeling what? He has a runny nose. He is feverish.
Yeah.
His body is already behaving a particular way before he goes to hospital to test, to ascertain. Then when it's positive, he's treated. So possibly the virus is at a different stage in that person. Most of the travelers were not showing any symptoms before they were tested and found positive. It was a precaution the president brought in because he realized that the disease was imported. Most of the general, the enhanced contact tracing are people who are not showing any symptoms. It's just because, well, you start on the same radio show with the person, so the person is a contact. So it should be, from a disease study point of view, interesting to find out what is going on with the negatives. Do you follow me? Why aren't the travelers and the enhanced contact tracing, and as Kojo said, it's been about 6 weeks. Okay. So that's, for me, the concern. But for me, it shouldn't be such a big concern if the people are still fit. You see, if they are not dropping into the critical or moderately ill, and they are well, they are just waiting to be tested to go, then we shouldn't be that concerned. We should be more interested in the critically ill people. Now we are told they are 5.
Yeah.
But initially there were 7 or 8.
There were 8 on Friday.
And then the death has jumped from 8 into 20, means 4 presumably have gone.
Yeah.
It means that the 5 then means 1 person has joined. Because if you had 8, 4 have died, it means 4 have dropped, with 4. And now you say you have 5, it means 1 person has joined. So that process seems to also be small. The number who are critically ill every time they tell us is very small. But as I've always said, our deaths are in the 1s, our recoveries are in the 10s, and our new cases are in the 100s. Okay, so that's a nice...
Yeah, and Bernard, the recovery trend, for example, if you look at the West African case, and West Africa is a good case because we are almost all the same people with almost close genetic makeup and the same environment and everything. Cote d'Ivoire has 769 recoveries. Okay. Nigeria has 745. People may argue that...
But do we know what method they are
using?
It's true. People may argue that they may not be as stringent as ours or not. That's something we can drill into.
No, that's an important difference.
Yes, I'm just saying it's something we can find out. Guinea has 698 recoveries. Senegal has 650. Niger has 617. Burkina Faso 569. Ghana 378. Mali 298, and then Togo 87. I just feel that there are 2 things here, to the best of my understanding. If you've been managing cases for 6 weeks, and within that 6-week period, we are not seeing as many, or we've not seen any recoveries in that particular lot, could it be your treatment regime that is not providing you the results when it comes to recoveries? Should we look at our treatment regime again? Because these people were asymptomatic. A lot of them were asymptomatic, right? And they tested positive for COVID-19, meaning their immune system was in a good place. Because when you start showing symptoms, that's where the virus is probably taking over certain parts of your system. And you've treated them for 6 weeks, and you've not seen any recoveries from that particular area. It gives me cause to worry. The argument about what regime other countries use to declare recoveries is there. But at least looking at the time frame and the fact that we are managing cases which have always been responding to treatment.
Especially for people without symptoms and they are not recovering.
People have always been responding to treatment. But I've not seen a total recovery from that particular area. I believe the Ghana Health Service should just explain whatever is happening in that particular bracket and let us know what is happening. So that, because this is it, if I'm asymptomatic, right, and I get COVID-19, and maybe I'm told to self-isolate, and I try to do that and I don't do it very well, because of this R0 figure that we have, I could infect 2 people, who could infect 2 people, who could infect 2 people. So the higher your recovery rate, the higher the lower your active cases, so the lower the disease burden on your system. So maybe the Ghana Health Service should give us something on that to ensure that the fear that some of us have about our treatment regime or whatever is happening is dispelled or discarded.
Well, these are questions we'll put to the officials on Tuesday when they address the media on the response plan. This is still a special coverage of the COVID-19 on Citi FM and Citi TV. I'm here with Kojo Akoto-Boateng and Bernard Avle. We've been talking about the latest figures. Right now, we are looking at the ban on public gatherings. There's been a lot of pressure and there's talk on social media about how the churches are lobbying to get the ban lifted. Kojo, we hear what the president said on that day when he extended the ban. I think that clip is ready, so let's hear what the president said.
I engaged a number of stakeholders to discuss the future of existing measures which have imposed restrictions on public gatherings, shut down our schools, and closed our borders. I met with the chairperson and members of the Council of State, the president and members of the Standing Committee of the National House of Chiefs, representatives of organized labor, that is the leadership of the Trades Union Congress, the leadership of the Christian community, the leadership of the Muslim community, the president and executive committee of the Ghana Medical Association, representatives and leaders of the media, and the leadership of the National Union of Ghana Students, NUCS, and its affiliated associations. The strong consensus that emerged from these and other consultations is that the existing measures must be maintained for now until we have a firm grip on the movement of the virus. This consensus is supported by data and science, and I'm also very much of this view. I have accordingly, by executive instrument, extended for another 2 weeks the suspension of all public and social gatherings, as set out in Executive Instrument number 64 of 15th March 2020.
So that was the president extending the ban about 2 weeks ago. Kojo, my question is your observations in adhering to this ban.
Well, I think before we come to my observations, one key recognizable group is the Ghana Medical Association. And they released a statement yesterday on this particular topic. And if you don't mind, I can read it for you.
Yeah.
Now, the statement was captioned COVID-19 pandemic. And the Ghana Medical Association wrote that the Ghana Medical Association, taking into consideration the number of new COVID-19 positive cases in the country, mostly from community spread and the seeming disregard for all the preventive measures put in place by large sections of the population, hereby states as follows, that 1, the COVID-19 pandemic is real. It is here with us in Ghana and it's still a major health threat to all persons living in the country. 2, non-adherence to the COVID-19 preventive measures at this point in our collective fight against the disease has a huge potential to erode any gains made so far. This also has the propensity to escalate further spread of the disease. 3, all persons living in Ghana should endeavor to adhere strictly to all the preventive measures such as the ban on public and social gatherings, social distancing, use of face mask, hand washing under running water with soap, and use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. 4, the government should strictly enforce all the preventive measures so far put in place to ensure compliance. 5, His Excellency, the President of the Republic, should not lift the ban on social gatherings for religious activities, schools, marriage ceremonies, funerals, etc. Our international borders should also remain closed for now. Let me take the point 5 again. His Excellency, the President of the Republic, should not lift the ban and they highlighted that particular portion. On social gatherings, for religious activities, schools, marriage ceremonies, funerals, etc. And our international borders should also remain closed for now. 6, the government must ensure prompt and continuous distribution of PPE to all health workers at their various institutions at all times. This will guarantee the safety of all health workers as they continue to render care to patients. And 7, all medical doctors and other health professionals should continue to dedicate themselves to this fight in the interest of Mother Ghana, in spite of the huge sacrifices we have made so far. So this is a statement by the Ghana Medical Association. That is the umbrella group for medical and I think dentists as well.
Yes.
In the country. And they say the president should not lift the ban. It's expected that the ban, the period that was given to the ban is going to expire at midnight tonight. We've not seen any announcement that the president will address the nation tonight, but a lot of people expected that he would address the nation and give us the way forward with respect to the ban based on some of the statements that he's made and some of the meetings he's made and the data available to him. But if you should ask me what the way forward should be, based on the data we've seen and what we are seeing outside, I think we should give ourselves some time. We should give ourselves some time to put certain things in place and also look at the trend of cases before we decide to lift that particular ban. Now, when we ease the restrictions, a lot of things were said. People should wear face masks, people should wash their hands with soap and running water, have hand sanitizers, weddings should not be happening, funerals should not be happening, churches must ensure social distancing, and all the various things. But look, let's step out right now. Yesterday I drove around the city, at least I did about 100 kilometers driving around the city, observing things. Churches are basically not observing any social distancing. In some of the places I went to, go to Medina right now, people are outside walking and working and doing all sorts of things, and about 3 out of 10 people I see wear the face masks. 7 out of 10 people I have personally seen do not wear any face masks, right? And the activities they engage in usually are activities that involve a lot of people. So you go to Medina, you go to our market areas, you go to a lot of the places, you see a lot of regular life happening without any adherence to the protocols. Now, if you are going to lift the ban on these things, after we've basically failed in enforcing some of the things that should have been enforced when we ease the restrictions, how sure are we that we will be able to keep the people to do the right thing to prevent spread? Because if we are opening schools and churches, majority of us, 80% of Ghanaians travel to their workplaces and schools and everything with public transport. So if you're not ensuring the social distancing and the various hygiene protocols for public transport, and these are the vehicles that will be carrying all these people for these activities, are we not putting people's lives in danger? That's number one. If you are not ensuring the adherence to the face mask directive, people are going about mingling and doing all these things, we can say that the churches can put in place protocols. But we've seen a factory getting a spike, 533 cases. There were protocols for factories and companies. There was an advice given that companies should ensure structures are put in place to ensure social distancing and everything. But who is policing that and ensuring compliance? So I feel that if we get our compliance and enforcement right, and we also follow the data to see that we are winning this somehow, then we can really visit this conversation properly.
But for now, we are not ready.
Look, Abna, we've seen an increase from 2,000 to 4,000.
Okay.
In less than 2 weeks, an increase. And look at the cases in Greater Accra alone. The cases in Greater Accra, aside Nigeria in West Africa, higher than every other West African country. They have higher recovery rates than us as well. Our recovery is that low. So how do we manage this? How do we manage this? So I think that we need to pay attention to the data and the situation we find ourselves in. Churches need to come back, we all know. Schools need to come back, we all know. Activities need to run, we all know. But what is the sense in having these things running if we are going to die anyway?
I don't think we are going to die. But Bernard, Why are people not adhering to these measures? There's a no mask, no entry policy. Lots of institutions, Greater Accra region, the RCC said you have to wear a mask if you're going into public. On Monday, they were driving people away from accessing the central business district. But looks like some people just do not mind.
Well, because you see, you are trying to change people's behavior by warning them against the danger, which is not very clear to them. They've not experienced it before. Most people who were in Ghana in 1918 during the influenza thing, they are all not alive. So a lot of people don't know what COVID-19 can do. And because only 22 people have died, they are like, what are you talking about? I mean, what is this thing that because of that we shouldn't get food to eat? Okay, so for me, I am even surprised that the Medical Association didn't ask for a lockdown. I'm even surprised. I think their statement is very safe, honestly. Because you see, they had proposed a lockdown before the lockdown was done.
Yeah.
Now, the lockdown is based on numbers. I've just shown you that in your first 50 days, your average number of people who were getting infected was 41. In your past 8 days, it's 242. Right? So when do you think you need a lockdown? Is it not now, rather? So I'm not criticizing about it. I'm just surprised that we have to decide what we want. You see, the thing about COVID is that you either go a way of strict managed lockdown, aggressive testing, isolating and treatment, so that you give your hospitals the capacity to deal with the cases, so that the curve is not that steep. The truth is, a lot of people are not falling as sick in Ghana as they are in other parts of the world, like New York and things where hospitals are jammed. So maybe that's what's giving us the sense that you have over 3,800 people who are active cases, and 5 of them are critically sick. So you are like, why do you need a lockdown because of this? I've just shown you that your rate of increase is going higher. Now, if 1 million people are infected, all the ratios will increase. The deaths will increase. The critically ill too will increase. You don't want that to happen. Okay? And we seem to be one of the countries that have moved faster than most people. We closed our borders early. We did mandatory quarantine early. We wrapped up our testing early. But we also eased our lockdown early. Okay? And we've seen examples in countries where if you ease too quickly, you lose the gains you've made. So I think that I don't want a national lockdown. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But you've had 8 weeks of data. 8 weeks. 2 months of data on epicenters, age groups, workplace types, and all that. That should give you enough information to do some localized type of shutting. You understand? Because you know from 8 weeks that you know where the disease is. You know the places that people live. So you cannot just allow, you can't just say if you wear masks, close churches and all these things without containing those places and preventing them from moving out. Greater Accra region, clearly, people shouldn't be leaving this region to other regions. Do you get? Because the health facilities in all other regions, apart from Ashanti, are much lower than Greater Accra. People shouldn't leave this region to anywhere, so that we don't go and worry them in Central Volta and other places. Do you follow me? Clearly, because, and even within the region, you have 8 weeks of data to tell you that there are some communities where you want to say to people, markets should close, or even if markets will open, only half of the market should operate. You understand me? So there should be some local nuance to the measure. Now, we have gone past the stage of a national lockdown or something, but I thought the GMA would say, you know what? Based on the data you have about the hotspots within the region, you want to say to the assemblies to come up with proposals to manage movement in those communities. That will include transport protocols, market protocols, workplace protocols, and mask wearing protocols. Do you follow me? Because 82% of your cases are in Greater Accra, right? So it means that you can do things within here to contain the thing. So and they've been on a retreat since Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm very sure they are discussing these options. We've gone past a national lockdown, but we've experimented it for 3 weeks and seen what works and what doesn't work. So we have that wisdom. Okay, I will be very disappointed if we don't have localized measures, because you could have Greater Accra. Look, Abuna, if the rate at which the cases are increasing don't change, by end of May, you will be sitting and we'll have 7,000 cases. I'm telling you. Today we have 4,000. Yeah. Good. In 1 week we jump from 2,000 to 4,000. If the rate continues, we could actually even 8,000. You hear me? And we don't need that, because the more numbers you have, it gets to a point you can't manage it anymore. So I expect the assemblies to be empowered to enforce the measures, because now everybody's sitting in Trotro anyhow. People are going to market. The whole market is open. They told us that they will. In some countries, they still do curfews at night. You can't move after 8 p.m. In some countries, half of the market is off. I don't think we are doing that. All the markets are open. Everybody's doing everything normally. We are not enforcing anything. So how are you surprised that the numbers are going up? So this requires a lot of local nuance. Now, if they can't trust the local assemblies to do it, then you can bring in the national people to come and support. Okay? Because if you've had a doubling of your case count in 8 days, you are not at any peak. You are not in control. You are behind the virus. The virus is not killing as many people. But you've also not had enough recoveries. So you can't also sit down and say, we are okay. If only 378 people have recovered, out of almost 4,000 people, there's a problem there.
Don't you think because not many people are dying, not many people are critically ill, and if you look at the age brackets, elsewhere we have the older population, and that's where you record a lot of the deaths, but we don't have that in Ghana. So maybe we can just be in the system and then we'll manage.
You can look at that data and say, oh, then we are in safer waters. But one thing we must know is that the COVID, the virus, it's mutating. It keeps mutating, adapting, changing. Okay, so the longer it stays in its host, the more time and the more further it gets to mutate. So whether people are dying or not, look, when Noguchi did the genome sequencing, they said it matched like 90-something% of what was found in Wuhan. Maybe with time, if we don't treat the cases and have full recoveries and the virus exists within our markets for longer, and we do another genome sequencing, it may not match 96% of what was found in Wuhan, but could be something else. So we do not want to have something the world has not dealt with before linger longer within our environment. I think that's a key thing that we must pay attention to. It mutates. So you could have 4,200 and something people and have 378 recoveries, and have a lot of people who are well and responding to treatment. But if you had people responding to treatment for 6 weeks and they've not fully recovered based on your tests, it should tell you something. So we shouldn't just look at the data on the face of it to say we are okay, people are not dying, we have a younger population, younger people, but we've also been told that a younger person had died.
Yeah, less than 15.
And the other point is that even with the deaths, so we keep hearing that all the people who died had underlying conditions. And I ask myself, you see, we shouldn't think that we don't have people with underlying conditions in Ghana. So the Global Burden of Disease Study 2017 shows you some of the key underlying diseases and their prevalence. So there's cardiovascular prevalence. Cardiovascular is mostly in the advanced temperate areas. Then you have chronic respiratory disease prevalence. You have HIV/AIDS prevalence, which is very prevalent in Southern Africa. Now, chronic kidney disease prevalence, Ghana is listed as one of those countries, right? So it's not as if when it comes to the underlying conditions that make COVID-19 worse, we are like completely out of it. Because if you look at that chart, when Ghana was highlighted as has a kidney issue, okay, and there are other African countries around us with other things like TB and malnutrition and things. So for me, we've had 8 weeks of information to inform a more clinical, and this clinical word is not medical but English adjective, a more clinical approach to dealing with these restrictions. We know that Ghanaians will not adhere to the type of advice. So if you don't have a system that makes only half of the market open, which forces it. You don't say to people, close half of the market and open half, right? Reduce the number of people who go into town. You have to do that by force in a way that will not grind the economy to a halt. But if you say at the Braka market today only this part is open, the rest you are coming on Wednesday, fewer people will come to market. We know our markets. We have just allowed advice. Oh, wear your mask. Don't go to market. Yesterday, people were sitting on motorbikes, 222. During the lockdown period, they said only motorbike riders didn't carry anybody.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether that rule had been removed. I even saw 3 people on a motorbike. Nobody saying anything to them. How won't the disease keep going up? Okay, so it's a question of local enforcement. Okay, and we have done it for 3 weeks. We know what worked, what didn't work. But as for those who are saying they should open the churches, I don't even know what they are saying. On the basis of what?
People have said that, for the churches and all the religious places, you revere the head of your church, your imam. So if you come to church, let's say you are my pastor, you tell me you need to wash your hands, you need to wear your face mask. It will help in drumming the message of COVID-19 home better than what we are doing now, which seem to have failed.
No, so they are saying that they are better in public. Okay, how many of them have We've painted 2 pickups and we are telling people to stay home. How many of them have done that public education?
With all their vehicles.
How many of them have sent messages to their people about stay home and all these things? Let's not confuse issues. I am even saying that we should go into more strict, unless there are other evidence. This is not about what you feel or how the things are affecting your church in the sense of, we are struggling. We all have a target. The president is very clear. He says he will put Ghanaian lives and control of the disease above everything. Now, and he says he will be led by science. The information they've given us, what I've used to show you that our R naught and our R effective is not going down. It's the same thing I've used to show you that your disease doubled from 2,074 to 4,200 in 8 days. Okay, the people who say we should open up, they should also give their numbers. Okay, because we are not working with emotion. I'm a Christian. I love church. So it's not like as if I don't want to go to church or go to meeting. Look, if you don't do it now and bring the thing down, we may not go to church till December. And that one, nobody will even tell us, you stay home. So the blood that is yours, if you take it now, if we had even obeyed that 3-week lockdown properly and done as many tests as we should have, we wouldn't have had this 4,000. We put the law there, we didn't obey the thing. The number, and you see the numbers, you can't hide it. If somebody is positive, it's positive. You can't do anything about it. You can't do propaganda. You can't say, if the person tests positive, it's positive. So the best evidence of the measures we put in place is not how well we articulate it. It's the numbers and how they are growing and how the R is growing. So those are the results that you can't disguise. So I think that all the groups should rally. Let's hunker down, use the next 3 or 2 weeks to all sacrifice. Kick COVID-19 out of Ghana. Test as many people as possible. Do mass community testing. All stay home. Pray. Do all we have to do. Let the numbers start declining. Then we can say, hey, Ghana is having it. Germany has done it. Germany is opening. They are playing football next week. Okay? They have 100-something thousand cases, but they've managed to ease the thing.
They have a lot of recoveries, 144,000.
So we need to get there. If we get there, I think we can go there. But until now, I think it's a non-starter.
Let's take the views from some of the people who are listening and watching us. Samuel Akofo Jr. From APAM says, I'm expecting the president to enforce strict laws on the wearing of masks and also spell out clear parameters for holding private burials, since what went on this weekend in the capital city with regards to funeral is a clear breach on protocol for holding private burial. ABT Abe from Sunyai says the effective hours should be viewed with some caveats. The active surveillance, it is dependent on contact tracing alone, or is it determined by the other factors that are critical, like the epicenter and the spread? The routine surveillance, is the population well informed, and do they report to the hospital at the least symptom, or because of stigma people would rather go into hiding? So the effective hour is not as simple statistical results.
See, I said it's my crude one. They should also bring the method of calculating their own. I have explained my own with these assumptions. So whoever is calculating Ghana's hours should tell me how they are doing it.
Okay.
Because based on the data they have, the only approximation of the average number of people each person is infecting is the ratio of enhanced contact tracing to the general surveillance. If they have other methods, I'm very happy to learn from that. It's a crude approximation. My method is very crude. I'm sure the guys in the Ghana Health Service have more cogent filler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kwesi Nana from Kaswa says, it's high time Accra goes under another lockdown. People are not disciplined. Security agencies are overwhelmed and the cases keep going up. I think the pampering is enough. We need stronger measures now. The ban on public gatherings, it should be extended for at least 2 weeks. Ni Asha Live from Adabraka. Please, the no mask, no entry does not include boarding of Chocho because it seems nobody cares anymore. Going to work is becoming uncomfortable. And you say we should re-echo this to the authorities. Thank you very much for your messages. Kojo, talking about enforcement, we see police personnel directing traffic. And these are the people a few weeks ago on the street enforcing the lockdown because of COVID-19. Now, there are public transport vehicles, chochos, who have more than the numbers, but they don't say anything because they are there to... It beats my imagination if there are separate police personnel for different agendas.
Sometimes when the police is dispatched, they are dispatched for specific duties. Now, if you have one police person at, say, Opebia directing traffic, with all these chochos and taxis and private cars passing, that person cannot do a lot of work when it comes to managing and enforcing. So I think that the strategy we rolled out earlier, when there was the partial lockdown, we should do same. We should have, I know some assemblies have enforcement teams, but we should get the police, the military, and the various task forces in the assemblies to start working together to deal with this. There's something we are not looking at. The spread in the other regions. When voters started recording 2, 3, 4, 9 cases, we were concerned. Now there are over 30.
Yeah.
Bono region has 1 case. And I'm afraid that when people are tested, we may get more cases.
So far, 78 people have been traced to just that single case. But the
resources in those areas, Abena, let me give you some figures. As at 2016, and it follows the trend all the way to 2020. Out of the 3,365 doctors in the country, according to the Ghana Health Facts, 708 were in the Ashanti region, 1,316 were in the Greater Accra region. Those two numbers put together is 2,000. And they had 3,365 doctors. So over 50% of our doctor population are in the Ashanti region and the Greater Accra region. We cannot sit down for the spread in the other regions to continue because a lot of the other regions are really under-resourced. Even the resources in Greater Accra cannot take care of Greater Accra properly. So Bernard said we should consider other strategies for Greater Accra region. I think we really should.
And talking about that lockdown, the reports by the EU, Bernard, you would want to...
No, I'm sure that one, if we have to come back on there, we should. But it's an Economic Commission for Africa report on comparing lockdown and other social movement restriction strategies. And it clearly tells you that Ghana's situation in terms of what we imposed was not as severe as we are saying.
Okay.
If you go back to the figure above this one, not this one, there's a chart that shows you the various African countries and their types of lockdowns. So the ones which are in bright red show you the national lockdown. Orange shows you they should keep going. The orange shows you the limited lockdown, and then the other two will show you just advice. Okay, so just go up. You will see that what Ghana has, it wasn't that severe. Okay, now if you look on that map closely, Ghana is in the lower part. So the deep red are those who had a strict national lockdown. Okay. The orange are the guys who had a localized lockdown, and the yellows are the ones who had more of like advice, stay home and things. The black shows you the date they lifted the lockdown. Look at it. Ghana and Burkina Faso lifted our lockdown earlier than most people. Now Burkina Faso had a national lockdown, deep red. Our lockdown was never even national.
Yeah.
So my point is that yes, things are hard here. People should open market, but you are not poorer than people in the other countries above you. So from the top, Okay, if you keep coming down, as you come down, the lower, the less severe the restrictions. Do you follow me? So our restrictions were not that wild, like Rwanda and other people, and they all have fewer cases than us. So is it that we are the ones who are smarter than them, or what? You get me? The countries on that thing, look at the West African countries on that thing. Most of them have fewer cases than us, but they have. If you see a deep red, it means that they had a national lockdown. Okay, we had orange. It's not national, and then we lifted our lockdown before almost all of them. So I feel that the tolerance for the measure should still be there. Okay, people should not make it look like, oh yeah, breadwinner. Everybody is dealing with COVID-19, the whole world. Okay, so the earlier we realign and say, look, this thing has to flatten, the better for all of us. Otherwise, open the shop, everybody is happy. Once the cases rise, the deaths will rise. The critical will also rise. The law of averages. I'm not the one saying, I'm not a prophet of doom.
All right.
It's just a law of averages.
Okay. So that's Bernard Avle. If we get clear communication, is the president speaking this evening?
Well, it's very odd because almost every time the date is due, he picks the weekend to make the announcement for the past week, because usually when whatever you're going to tell us, you need to tell us so that we can prepare for it for the weekday.
Yeah.
Now, the ban in public gatherings ends tomorrow. So you'd have expected that he will make an announcement today, but there hasn't been any information from government that he's going to speak. Okay. But knowing that this, I'm sure they probably will give us, they will let us know. They will send it an hour or so.
All right. If we get a clear communication, of course, we'll be bringing it live to hear you here on Citi TV and Citi FM. My name is Abnanya Mechampedu. I was here with Bernard Avle and Kojo Akutu Boateng. Thank you for watching. There's more information on our website, citynewsroom.com/coronavirus.